Hello, this is Ron and Hugh, and welcome to Politically Challenged. Today we're going to talk about alcohol abuse, what alcohol does to the body, and why binge drinking seems to be encouraged in today's society. We may also cover, other drugs, including marijuana. So, marijuana and Khat. So we're going to talk about alcohol first, of course. So why do you think binge drinking is encouraged in the society?
I wouldn't say encourage, it's just a consequence of people like they just want to be friendly and it's a social activity of drinking. You meet people at the pub, you go to a club, and it's just part of it's just routine.
So you believe it's a social catalyst, some sort of bonding experience?
Yeah, it's kind of like a brotherhood, sisterhood, and all that. Well, it's like
Something that people do in
Yeah.
social groups.
yeah, people get ready and they go out drinking, and it's just like it's the same.
To have fun and maybe go to a party or a nightclub.
Well,
Just a common pastime.
yeah, it could even be a house thing, or it could be where people drink at weddings, people drink at, but yeah, like it's just everywhere. People drink.
It's just something that people do. Okay, but given that we know that there are negative effects of alcohol on the body, on the liver, the kidneys, the brain. Why is it that alcohol is still, well, not an integral part, but a key aspect in some people's lives?
Well, it's part of British culture, isn't it? Drinking culture.
Well, not just British culture. Many countries drink. In many countries, people drink alcohol.
Well, we're British, so we should just say we should refer to us, but it's a very American thing. German, they love their beer. Russia, they love their vodka. I mean, it's not exclusive to England, but yeah.
Okay, sure. Let's go into what happens when alcohol enters the body. So 10% of the alcohol is absorbed by the stomach, 90% of the alcohol goes into the small intestines, and then goes straight into the bloodstream. Your body can only metabolize a small amount, so that's one drink per hour, and if you drink more than this, you get intoxicated due to having too much alcohol in your bloodstream. Of course, this leads to people being drunk. And also, alcohol is metabolized in your liver by two main enzymes, alcohol dehydrogenase, and aldehyde dehydrogenase. First, the alcohol dehydrogenase metabolizes the alcohol in your liver into the hangover-inducing toxic chemical compound called acetaldehyde, which is then metabolized by aldehyde dehydrogenase into acetic acid, and that's vinegar. So, what also happens is alcohol activates GABA receptors, increasing the activity of GABA neurons in the brain, and this decreases the overactivity in some parts of the brain.
Yeah, basically, it reduces your inhibitions and make you less stressed and basically more likely to take social risks and maybe physical risks in a sense, in terms of the context.
Yeah, if some parts of your brain are hampered, that would be some of the side effects. Yeah, or alcohol also reaches our glutamate receptors, and not to mention, glutamatergic neurons are inhibited by alcohol, decreasing the overall brain activity on certain areas of the brain as well. And these areas include the prefrontal cortex. So, obviously, this is why alcohol affects our judgment. So alcohol also increases the activity of dopamine-releasing neurons, and this making you feel really good. When you drink alcohol, and the dopamine also reinforces the effects of alcohol. This may be why people seem to be more friendly and seemingly happier when they're intoxicated.
And that's why some people are encouraged to drink. They say like, kind of relax a bit, drink, and then it's more social, and it's like that.
Sure, of course. After 3 to 5 drinks, you start to lose balance and coordination. That's according to our research, and these are the consequences of the cerebellum being affected by alcohol. The cerebellum is responsible for coordination, so that makes sense. The cerebellum interacts with the peripheral nerves in your limbs to enact coordination. So if you hamper that part of the brain, it explains why you would lose balance and control.
So that's why drunk people fall over.
Exactly. That's why drunk people fall over and, somehow lose all sense of gravity.
That's why you shouldn't drink and drive.
Definitely. That's a good point. And, I mean, there are other effects to alcohol. For instance, the chronic use of alcohol can lead to chronic or impaired nerve damage, including permanent damage to nerve tissue and also causing permanent imbalance. At 10 drinks or more, you may risk the event of vomiting or nausea or anterograde amnesia, including blackouts and slurred speech. You may have seen one of your friends drink a bit too much and they can't speak properly. That's why. And after 10 drinks, the side effects include hypothermia, hyperventilation, and cardiac arrhythmia. That's really interesting. I mean, I haven't seen too many people where that's happened to, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Also, 10 drinks is very subjective, so like 10 drinks would have a different effect on me than it would affect on you, and what drink are we talking about? So, I think
it depends. It depends on.
And some people have a tolerance to it, like I said.
Yeah, let's say for example, let's say 3 to 5 drinks is around 50 milligrams per deciliter, and one drink would be 15 milligrams per deciliter. So it's stuff like that. They have measurements for these things. But you're right, it would depend on the amounts of on what type of alcohol.
And the type of person, like I said, like I don't drink, so obviously I would have a lower tolerance than you who occasionally drinks.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so given these facts that we've dug out from the wonders of books and the internet,
Yeah.
Given all of this, why do you still believe that people like to drink? I mean, you've got like clear health and social risks involved.
Well, social risk, but social reward. I mean, like, you're more likely to take risks that you wouldn't take in, like, say, this, you might meet someone in a club or whatever, like, and also, like, it kind of, let's say you're having a bad day, you're just drinking, like, it's the friends and the people you meet, you're like, oh, I had a bad day at work, so I might as well just go out, and it's fun.
I mean, it does depend on your mood, because alcohol is actually a chemical depressant, so if you're really sad and you drink alcohol and you drink lots of alcohol trying to make yourself feel better, the dopamine effect may not last long and you might just end up depressed.
Yeah, and people who get addicted to that, much like other stuff, so.
Yeah, so there are good sides and bad sides. There's a good side and a bad side to alcohol.
Well, I'm not sure. Like, if we talk about the good side, is probably a social thing. Is there a medically advisable? Is there any medical advantage of that?
I mean, it depends on the alcohol. I mean, I've read a few sources and studies that say that like a glass of red wine can improve brain activity, but I take things like that with a pinch of salt. But that's red wine. But
yeah.
most types of alcohol have been linked to the blackouts and the negative risks and all of the other stuff.
Yeah, I think with the wine thing, the wine has a chemical that's very healthy, but the fact is that it doesn't have enough of that chemical. Even though that chemical is, I don't know what the chemical is, even though the chemical is good for you, a glass of wine won't have it, so you would have to drink a lot of wine to get enough of that chemical, but then you've had X amount of alcohol to get that amount of chemical, so it might not be as beneficial as you think.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense. So why do you believe that alcohol awareness is important for society?
Well, like I said, it's like anything, too much, too little. If anything is too much, what's bad? Well, I'm not sure if there's a problem with being too little, because I don't drink, and I don't have this problem. But like I said, it's kind of a social thing over here, at least. So I think people should be informed about the risk of alcohol and just like try not to go over the limit. Like you just say like. If you're never drunk and you'll be like, oh, I have one beer, and then you decide to drive, even though it's legally probably under the limit, the fact you've never drunk, it might be enough to just inhibit some of your decisions and stuff.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I believe that the alcohol awareness is imperative for society because, it doesn't matter what you say about alcohol. A lot of people are still going to drink alcohol and, go to parties and events where people will be drinking alcohol and they'll want to get married and a few people want to get drunk. It is a part of British culture and the national culture in many different countries in the world. But the point is, you have to know the effects of alcohol, what it would do to your body, what it does, what it does to the mind, and it's also important to be clued up on alcohol and the risks of addiction so that you don't become addicted to the drug. Because not only would it be a waste of money if you're addicted to it, it would also, hamper your health and physically and mentally. So it's always good to be, to do a lot of research on alcohol, just so that when you've drunk enough, and and why it's important not to abuse the drug, because at the end of the day, alcohol is a drug.
And also probably the location is affected. Just say you're drinking alone at home, like you're on your own, so like you could, like ideally, like maybe alcohol should be a social thing. So like try avoid drinking on your own. Is that something? Probably be safe.
Avoid drinking on your
own.
I mean, yeah, it depends. I mean, a lot of people do drink in social groups. Some people drink alone. But yeah, the issue with drinking alone is, I don't know, some people like to drink a little bit, some people like to drink the whole bottle. It does depend. And if you are doing that by yourself, it's a lot harder for people to realize that you're an alcoholic, unless they see you do it. And then
you basically, yeah.
No, there's no one to make you aware that you might be an alcoholic.
Yeah, there's no one to show you a line, because like, let's say you've had 3 drinks and that person's only had 1, so like there's a line. Like,
exactly, yeah. It's like
it's relative.
If you share like a bottle of wine and you've had 1 glass and someone's had 3, you can tell that person really, really likes the wine, or just has an issue with like the line and where to stop drinking. But you can't have that sort of comparison when it's by yourself. Okay, yeah. Now we can also talk about marijuana, and then we'll have some final thoughts about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so marijuana it's a controversial drug. A lot of people are saying that it should be legalized. A lot of people are saying that it should stay illegal. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, like, we talk about alcohol, like, I don't drink, but like, I understand, like, let's say you can't make alcohol illegal because like jobs, the economy would be affected. So, and like, marijuana is also a drug, so in that sense, where we have drugs like alcohol and cigarettes that might have a social positivity, but it's health-wise, it's not really positive. Why would you add another drug to that? Saying that, I do know that marijuana does have some health benefits, marijuana oil specifically. We did look into that, didn't we?
Yes, we'll get into that now, thank you. Basically, we read some stories and did a bit of research. We've come across a couple of stories of people who had, very deadly diseases, and they were, quote unquote, cured, or at least had the symptoms removed or relieved by.
I think we should avoid the word cured, just for.
No, I said quote unquote,
yeah.
So they can't see me do the sign, so.
Yeah.
So quote unquote cured these, yeah, they were cured by the CBD oil, so. Yeah, there's cannabis oil that's used. For instance, there was a mother of 4, no, a 44-year-old mother of 2. She, quote unquote, cured herself of triple negative cancer, which is apparently the most aggressive kind of cancer. She did this by using a drop of CBD oil every day. She found it revolting, but she preferred it to the concept of using chemotherapy, which she refused to take.
No, she found the drug revolting. She didn't like the experience either, so it wasn't a pleasant experience.
No, she didn't take it because she liked to do it. She did it because she wanted to save her life. I just wanted to add that it was breast cancer that she had. So that was yeah. And then because she didn't want to take chemotherapy, she thought, let me try cannabis oil, and she seemed to be happy with the results. I mean, she was given the all clear after some weeks. And then there was another mother, but she didn't have the disease. Her son had a very rare 1 in 7 billion disease that was apparently terminal, until they tried using the same type of oil, and get in a short amount of time, the boy was relieved of all symptoms, and he was well quoted to be a very healthy young man.
Yeah, but they also referred to how like because of how rare his disease was, it doesn't guarantee that other types of cancer can be cured just like his was.
Of course, yes. That's a good point.
I
But
mean,
it shows that there's potential for cannabis oil to cure very dangerous diseases. It has medicinal properties, so it's an argument for maybe cannabis in itself to be researched more often to see what else it can do to help people in a positive way. And this, of course, leads to the argument that weed should be legalized, not to mention the political aspects of people saying, oh, it's like the war on drugs and the amount of money spent to tackle all of that.
And enforce it, and basically.
To enforce it, and, and all the other aspects of it that we don't need to get into right now. Maybe in a different podcast.
Yeah. Should this tie in with the Khat drug? Because I think it ties in.
Yeah, you wanted to talk about that. Could you explain what Khat is?
Well, Khat is basically a herb that's basically eaten in the Muslim community. Well, it was, but it's banned in England. It was in 2014 that I heard about the story. And basically, you basically chew it, and then it has similar affects your mood and sensibility and all that stuff. Similar to alcohol, and I found it strange because alcohol was banned in Islam, but they had this drug, which is they see as their version of alcohol, which I found a contradiction in terms of. But I also looked at the social aspects, this is their specific thing, and we've banned it because we don't know what it is, so it's technically a war on drugs, so we don't fully understand. If you get what I mean.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we talk about marijuana in Rastafarian culture. Marijuana is it's part of it. Rastafarian culture, if you're aware of it.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Rastafarian culture. In certain cultures, people like to smoke weed. I understand, but of course, the law doesn't respect that some people like to use marijuana. So that's why some people really want it to be legalized. I myself, I could only be convinced that marijuana should be legalized due to the medical components, the medical implications of using the oil. I mean, I'm not into using marijuana myself. But honestly, I feel as if, especially when you compare it to alcohol, they say that alcohol is 114 times more dangerous than marijuana. And then if you take that into account, if that's the case, then you'd have to think, well, if alcohol's legal, then it wouldn't be that damaging to make marijuana legal. In fact, it wouldn't be damaging at all if you compare it to alcohol. But of course, other people could counter argue, but people can moderate the use of alcohol. Marijuana, we still don't. But then,
well, you basically say that argument. We already have alcohol and cigarettes, which are more harmful than marijuana. But my opinion is, why would you add another thing to it? Why would you add another spoke on the fire?
You have a point. I mean, we've read into the combined effects of alcohol and marijuana. Yes, basically the combined effects, and especially since people like to use tobacco with it. People like to use tobacco and weed together, and smoke spliffs, if that's even what they're called. And then with this, of course, if you drink as well, it all combines the negative effects, including, poor driving skills, or anxiety, paranoia, impairment of memory, learning difficulties, and poor attention skills, and all this stuff.
And smoking marijuana does cause delusions and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what people say. I mean, I don't believe that's quite the case, but I mean, I think it depends on the variety that you use.
Much like alcohol, different marijuana has different effects.
But do you believe that making weed illegal would make a difference? Positive, negative? What do you believe?
I say that we can legalize cannabis oil, but I don't think smoking marijuana should be legal. Like I said, why would we add another thing to the thing? Like we talked about, cigarettes, there's no benefit whatsoever, but they can't criminalize it because, economically, the jobs and tax-wise, we're kind of in a way reliant on the income it creates. So you can't take it out because that's a load of jobs and money that's gone. So like, why would you put another drug? So we're reliant on another drug economically. It doesn't make sense in my opinion.
I mean, if you're talking about economically, then that might be an argument as to why you would make it legal, so that at least people won't be going to prison for exchanging marijuana for money, and then it would increase. People are more likely and more encouraged to do it, and you can be taxed on it as well. So the government will make more money. More money.
No, that's my argument. Like we're already like there's tax revenue in the millions, billions in alcohol and cigarettes. Why would you add another drug to that? Like that has possible long-term harm, that could damage to the people.
Well, obviously there would be laws. Obviously, if that were to happen, there would be laws to prevent people, I should say, from taking too much of it.
Yeah, you say that, but there's laws against drinking and driving, but people still do that. People still
Yeah,
if you make something legal, you know that making marijuana legal is not like tick and then everyone takes the responsibility.
Yes,
there's always going to be someone stupid that does.
To be fair, people would do drugs. People do drugs and then go behind the wheel anyway, regardless of whether they're legal or not. So legalizing the weed it's not necessarily going to. Well, it could increase the likelihood of drug driving, obviously, but at the same time, that's already happening. So you can't just say, oh, only because weed would be legal, then it would happen, because that's already happening as well. You say you don't want to add to the negative harm, but at the same, if you look at it from the other side, because of so many different things, it would be an added boost to the economy if we made weed illegal, so that it would be a fair legal trade. This would decrease the crime, decrease people getting killed over it or arrested over it, and it would increase the tax revenue. So there's pros and cons, just like with alcohol
financially,
and tobacco. I
understand the argument. Like I just don't think it's fairly we're financially reliant, to a degree, on alcohol and cigarettes. Why would you want to put in this? Obviously, it's an economic advantage. That's why people are appealing it. So who's going to be in charge of selling it and tailoring it? And what's going to happen to the legal traders? Are they going to be arrested?
I don't know. That would be something that the government will take care of.
There's so many hurdles.
Or supposed to take care of.
There's so many hurdles to cover, and how do you know how ethically they'll handle it? The growth and shipment and stuff. Where would we hold?
Well, we don't. But if there's an international marijuana trade, then that could also improve trade relation. Well, it might improve trade between different countries.
To a degree.
But there are pros and cons with making weed illegal. There's the economic side. It could increase more revenue. There's the downturn, and it could damage more people health-wise.
Because people know it's not illegal, so they'll be like, oh, I could just get it in the store. It's simple, done.
Yeah, but I'm sure there would be regulations with that as well, just like with alcohol. I'm sure they're not going to give a 5-year-old weed, for instance.
Yeah, I know, but it's legal for a 5-year-old to drink in a private residence or at home.
Yes, that's in private. I mean, once an adult gets the drug, they can do whatever they like with it in private. I say that as in people, we won't be able to tell what they do with it. But saying, I mean, you say that you just don't want marijuana on the streets and legal because it might make things worse. I'm saying
marijuana oil because it has a medical benefit.
Given that the podcast has been talking about the positive effects of cannabis oil, or cannabinoid oil, as some people call it, I agree that we should look into those benefits more than just wanting to legalize the whole drug. We can focus first on making that treatment legal, so that more people can be quote unquote cured of potentially terminal illnesses, and that again would ease the stress and ease the stress on the NHS, and that will of course save us money and improve revenue if there are more people alive, safe, happy, working. So on that note, I believe we are finished. Thank you again for listening to us. Please, leave some comments. Tell us what we did right. Tell us what what you agree with, what you disagree with.
Basically, offer
share
your
with
opinion.
friends and family and everyone else.
Of your opinion.
Yep.
Well, we're just basically we were talking about opinions, so like, there's no right or wrong in a sense.
Yeah, tell us your opinions, and also, please watch our other videos. I'm sure you'll be interested in, learning about espionage and what's been happening in the news, stop and search, immigration, racism, and all these other things that we've been talking about.
And the KSI Logan Paul fight, which was a draw.
Yes, exactly. We did make a video about that as well. Well, before the fights happened. Thank you for listening and watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's goodbye from Ron.
And it's goodbye from Hugh.
Yeah, bye.
Was that vocal? Was I loud enough to